I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. And we welcome Kaylen to the interview. Hi.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm Kaylen. I am a furry PNG tuber. I consider myself non-binary. I go by they, she.
Mm-hmm.
And as of this interview, I'm about to turn 30.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm twice that, so...
I mean, what, fair.
Yeah, so I'm like, congratulations for making it this far. Now try again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong, not in this day and age anyway, with getting to 30. There's still a lot to do, including streaming.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and how did you get involved in streaming in the first place?
So, I first started streaming as most do during the pandemic. So it was just around the start of the pandemic, and I had been let go from my job, and I needed to find something to do in my spare time while trying to find another job.
Right.
And I had been seeing all these VTubers on my For You page on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? That looks like fun. I bet I could do that. And I had my persona, which is what I used for VTubing.
Mm-hmm.
I've had her since I was in middle school. She's a very old character of mine. But in the furry community, we have these personas.
Right.
And I've been a furry longer than I've been a VTuber.
Mm-hmm.
And none of the design ideas really that I had come up with really stuck with me.
Right.
So I was like, I could just be my persona because that's still kind of me.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a handy thing to have, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's other VTubers like Barley. He also uses his persona, and I think Jackie, she uses her persona as our VTuber model. And it's, while the furry community and VTubers kind of overlap, it's still a very small niche within the VTuber community.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that most furry VTubers consider their VTuber their persona as well.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah. I imagine there's more than is let on as far as overlap's concerned. But VTubing overlaps a lot of communities, and the furry community and
oh yeah,
arts. There's a lot of, if you're drawing a Venn diagram, there's a lot of overlap.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Another one of my communities is Final Fantasy 14. I've seen a lot of people using their Warrior of Lights as their VTubers as well, and I find that really, really fun.
Yeah. So was it easy for you to come on and get things started once you realized that you were going to use your persona?
Yeah. I had done a lot of customer facing type work before, and the job I was just coming from was call center.
Oh.
Those talking to people on the phone or using a headset on the computer was already very natural to me.
Right.
I never really did your typical debut. It really was just okay, I'm gonna do this, and so I did it. I was already very familiar with the commissioning process because furries are known for commissioning art and being very well paying customers for their art and everything.
Right.
So I was already familiar with the commission process for a lot of artists. So I was able to get my original PNG, and my overlays I get from actual artists off of Etsy. I do some really strict searches on Etsy for overlays. But a lot of my original art, my reference sheet and my PNGs, and a couple of like thumbnail images. I had those commissioned, and I knew right away what I wanted to do for those. Um, and the artist, Slushy, I think Slushy Kitty is her name. Um, she was really great. She got those done for me pretty fast. And then I was just like, okay, I've got everything I need. And then set up my Twitch account like a few days before, and then went live. So
That's cool. And I mean, it didn't take you had a series and it didn't take very long, and it doesn't sound like it was too
mhm.
complicated a process for you.
No, and I've always been really good at like computers. I'm not good at the hardware of computers, but like software side of things.
Mm.
I grew up uh, on the computer a lot. Like I remember elementary school going on Neopets, and
Yes.
then middle school
Yeah.
I was on the like Warrior Cat forums, and
Yeah.
then into high school even. I've been computer savvy, so setting everything up wasn't crazy either.
Yeah. And well, as far as getting into the VTubing itself, did you know about VTubers before? Were you following and watching them, or did you just come across them?
So for a while it was I think like most people I saw Kizuna Ai, the very one of the very first VTubers, but she wasn't really called a VTuber at the time. And then I started seeing more and more people starting to do this VTubing. And there wasn't any one specific VTuber that I really watched. But it was just kind of like the fandoms were starting to overlap, and I
Mm.
was already very into like anime and manga.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just starting to come up on my feed, and I'm like, that looks really fun.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it just kind of appealed to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Um I I love video games, so that appealed. I'm a creative person, I like to think, so
Yeah.
that appealed to it, the
Yeah.
creative aspect of VTubing. Um, and I've always felt more comfortable on the internet rather than in real life interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing that I really liked about it, was the whole community aspect and being able to interact with people.
You know, and you kind of get a chance now that a lot of people don't have with this because being a furry and having a persona and then using it here, you're not really um, creating a new character or anything. You're just kind of transferring your persona and self over to the internet. It's a bit of a different transition, isn't it?
It is definitely. And she's always kind of been my internet persona. Obviously, I grew up on the internet, so my mom was always very, you can't let people know about your real life self on the internet because you never know who you're going to be talking to.
Yeah.
So that anonymity really appealed to me, because I never have really liked putting my real self out there on the internet.
Right.
Um, so that's always been another part that appeals to me.
Well.
And while it's still kind of me, she does have a backstory.
Mm-hmm.
She does have like her own likes and dislikes and everything.
Right.
But it's less of me playing a character and more like I'm just kind of being me.
That's something else. That's new for. Well, I think I interviewed one other person who distinctively used a persona on, and that was some
Mm-hmm.
time ago. But it definitely is a different situation for you. Once you got on and rolling, and people started coming to watch, did you get any negative feedback or people kind of attacking you for for being a furry?
So not really
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the whole stigma of furries and the negativity that surrounds what people associate us with.
Yeah.
Um, but never like specifically targeted towards me.
Good.
Which I'm very thankful for. But I've also very strict with my moderation as well.
Yeah.
So, and I block liborously. So I'm not really open to even letting those people try and get to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, this should be a forum for you to express yourself and be yourself more than anywhere else, really.
Hmm.
To so many people. Um, it and you tell me if this is unfair because I'm trying to draw a comparison here. But having a persona, you kind of got a head start on this, didn't you?
I mean, kind of, but I mean, I started out in forums doing role play and everything,
Right.
and I'm creating characters is not really as hard as people think.
Hmm.
That it should be, because some of these people they show up on a forum and have a character built within 24 hours, and it's like this super fleshed out person with like art and everything
Hmm.
attached to it. So in some ways yes, but some ways no, because other people's VTuber avatars, um you don't know how long it took them to put it together, because
Yeah.
it could they could already have that character in mind as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You
so
talk about that people who can come up with entire backstories within a couple hours. Those are the super creative people that I like to take swings at out of
well,
pure
I've always
jealousy.
been. I'm not much of an artist, but I am a bit of a writer. I've been writing for a very long time
Ooh.
and role playing.
Yeah.
So,
So what type of writing do you like to do?
definitely fiction,
Mm-hmm.
romance, fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
not so much sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a little romantic at heart,
Mm-hmm.
so which is very funny because I'm arrow ace, so I don't really do the romance thing, but it still appeals to me, like the whole concept of it.
That's that's very I want to say odd, but it's not odd. I want to make it sound like that, but the juxtaposition is pretty amazing from one to the
Yeah.
other. And but you are as observant, obviously, to be able
Hmm.
to come up with stuff like that, and very creative, very obviously. Because folks, if you haven't seen the avatar for Kaylen, you really have to. You're seeing it right in front of you right now if you're watching on YouTube. Very creative. It's a um, it's quite some work putting that together. Did you come up with Did you create the avatar yourself? Did you give somebody else the idea for
Yeah,
it?
no, the design has always been mine.
Uh-huh.
So her design is an anthropomorphic tiger,
Mm-hmm.
but rather than being the typical orange, she is a vibrant purple,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got a pair of big black wings on her back.
Yeah.
Um, Originally, her design was actually as a griffin,
Mm-hmm.
which also combines, the feline and avian
Yeah.
design elements. But younger me was like, no, that's too much bird and not enough cat. Because I've always felt really connected to both birds and cats.
Yeah.
But cats obviously have taken over my heart a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, and then the purple aspect is purple's always been my favorite color.
Yeah.
But I also have some familial reasonings behind the purple and everything,
Yeah.
with my maternal grandmother.
Ah, okay.
It was a thing between us.
Mm.
We had, I think it was, she'd be plum number one and I was plum number two, because we both liked purple and we both would dress in purple. So it was, that was the nicknames between us.
That's cool.
So
That's great. You kind of
yep,
honor the whole thing by doing that. You
yeah.
add a little more personal touch to everything. That's pretty cool. Um,
Hmm.
so what is your community like at this point after doing this for a little while? Who do you have in there, and and do you feel like it's a family type unit, or is it an audience type unit?
So my community is still pretty small. mostly because I have a lot of chronic illnesses, so I don't get to stream very much.
Mm-hmm.
So most of my community's been built off of like social media and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But right now the community is mostly friends that I've made in other fandoms.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a few other people who've joined the community from just from finding me on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
But majority of it is friends that I've already had and have kind of come together and mishmashed
Mm-hmm.
and everything.
Yeah.
Some other community members though is some fellow VTubers that I've gotten really close to.
Mm-hmm.
They've also ended up joining my community, but we've kind of all joined each other's communities, when you become friends like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is great, and if you're able to make those type of connections and good connections like that.
Of course, yeah. And I don't really mind that it's small either. I like the kind of size it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I wouldn't mind growing it, but I'm not really interested in like a sudden exponential growth. I like the kind of slow climb of people joining, because then I just don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah. And you get to kind of know them a little bit better in the slower process, and it creates a closer type of community.
For sure.
How long did it take for you to find other VTubers and collaborate with them?
So for a very long time, I was kind of riding solo, and I didn't really mind just kind of being on the edge of everything and doing my own thing. But it was really within the last couple years, maybe the last 2 years, that I ended up joining a Discord server with some other VTubers in it and getting close to them.
Yeah.
But for a very long time, I was almost kind of intimidated by the idea of reaching out to other VTubers and collaborating.
So you're a little shy about it, huh?
Well, I like to call myself an ambivert, but I am more hesitant when it comes to reaching out to other people. I much prefer when people reach out to me.
Yeah, I used to call myself, I I'm kind of a left-handed person mostly, but I end up doing a lot of things right-handed because it's not really a left-handed world.
Yeah.
And I used to they'd say, "Are you ambidextrous?" I said, "No, I'm ambiclextrous. I drop things with both hands very easily."
Oh goodness.
Yes. So you were kind of all over the place as far as interacting socially, but this, I imagine, has given you an easier outlet to do that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's something that I can bond with people over, and we can kind of share stories and play games together, and it's definitely given me an outlet for being more social with other people.
Yeah. So if I tune into one of your streams, what am I going to see?
Oh, it really depends. I am a very big variety streamer. So whatever games that I'd be playing are kind of up in the air. I do like more of a like cozy kind of vibe. I don't like yelling. I'm not big into people who yell, and I don't yell myself.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a very loud stream. It'll probably be quieter.
Yeah.
Might be even a little sleepy because I'm very sleepy sometimes. But usually, sometimes I'll play AAA games. A lot of the times I'll be playing more indie games.
Yeah.
I do like the farming sims.
Yeah.
I like visual novels.
Yeah.
But I'm also big into like Monster Hunter Wilds is big right now, so I've been playing that.
Yeah.
I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 because the new patch comes out soon.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to games.
Yeah, well,
I don't do a whole lot of just chatting streams. Mostly because I like to be doing something with my hands.
Yeah.
And playing games is easy enough to do with that.
Yeah.
In the past, I have done some Pokemon card pack opening streams. But as of now, Pokemon cards are very expensive.
Right.
So that's not very much an option right now.
I saw that. It's getting ridiculously expensive. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely. I
yeah.
would like to do more hand cam streams though. There's a place near here that sells those little poppin' cookin' candy kits that I
Ooh,
really like.
yeah.
Um, so I'd like to do something like that. But I really don't have the setup for it right now.
I said right now, but eventually it's going to happen. I really,
Oh, I hope so.
it does. It does seem like this is set up for you pretty good, and to enjoy yourself and enjoy other people too, and they're enjoying themselves coming up to view what's going on with you. Um, have you done art streams?
So I am not much of an artist. I'm not very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've considered some like what do they call it? Like co-working streams
Oh,
where
okay.
you're just kind of working on something and it's like because for neurodivergent people that we do something called body doubling
Mm-hmm.
where it's easier to work on something if you're with someone who is also working on something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So these co-working streams are kind of to emulate that kind of feeling
Mm-hmm.
where you're just working on something idly, maybe talking a little bit, sometimes a little quiet, playing some music, and it's just an opportunity for other people to come in, have your stream going while they also work on something.
I remember as a kid in college, everybody just kind of hangs
Yeah,
and
everyone's
works
doing their
together.
homework at the same table and
Yeah,
no one's really talking, but it's just easier to kind of get in that vibe of work
yeah. And
when everyone else around you is also working.
then every once in a while somebody throws a wad of paper and hits you right in the eye or something. Yeah, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what this format can do. It has it still has a lot of potential of doing. Where you could be a gamer, you could have um, an ASMR channel if you wanted. You could do cooking channel.
hmm
So many different things and very flexible that I would not be surprised to see by this time next year double the number of people in it. And there's already a lot of people in it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Especially with the popularity, I think a lot of VTubers are getting into the actual like VR part of it
Hmm.
too.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot you can do in these VR spaces as well. Because I've seen a lot of VR VTubers on TikTok specifically.
Hmm.
But I've seen them on Twitch as well and YouTube. But I think with those 3D models, you can really do a lot.
Oh yeah, I think so. And there is, but even if somebody's just somebody's got a PNG model, it's still the person behind it that people are going to come to, and
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
it's uh it's that personality that brings them in, and
hmm
you started to get a little community of your own. Has that sunk in with you yet? That people are coming to be with you and to interact with you?
Um, at the beginning, it was a little kind of surreal because I was not a very popular kid in school.
Uh-huh.
So at the beginning, it was kind of surreal to me. But as I've kept doing it, it's mellowed out a lot. It's like, because I know that I'm doing this for people to come and enjoy my content.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it's mellowed out quite a bit by now. But yeah, at the beginning, I was very, very surprised that people, liked me and wanted to be in my space.
They like me. They really like me.
Yeah, I have a co-interviewee. Hi.
Oh, hello. And who are we speaking with?
This is Bella. I
Hello.
have affectionately called her Miss Manager in the past, because she likes to know what I'm doing and is my stream manager, in fact. I know,
Uh,
right?
Hello, Bella.
Yes.
I it's
I'm off of work now, so she is very interested in pets because I can't pet her when I'm working.
Yep, there you go. It's time now. You must pay attention to cat. Now try that with nine
Yeah.
cats. Um, it,
I don't think I could.
yeah,
I can barely handle her.
yeah. It's sometimes if they coordinate, you can get them all done in a roundabout. But if they don't, then it's two at once, three at once, and they
You
don't
need
like
more hands
they
at
don't
that
like
point.
sharing sometimes, and
Oh goodness.
it gets a little weird. But the so what type of you mentioned the different types of games that you're playing. What are you playing right now online?
Um, so right now, I've been, like I said, Monster Hunter Wilds is
Mm-hmm.
the new hip game. Um, I'm not the biggest Monster Hunter fan. Like I'm not um devout, and I haven't like played all of them like some people have.
Right.
But in the past, I've played Monster Hunter World. Um, I've unfortunately skipped Rise, which was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm into Wilds, and that's been a really fun time. And then, like I said before, Final Fantasy 14 is my love and my baby. I've been at that for 7 years
Yeah. Now you have
at this
finished it,
point.
right?
What was that?
You have finished it, right?
Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm up to endgame content and currently awaiting the next patch. So yes, I've finished it as much as I can.
Yes.
There is still a lot of side content I haven't done.
Yeah.
Cough, Eureka, cough. I don't like Eureka.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst. It's I don't like the play style for that side content.
Yeah.
So I have not touched it.
Yeah. I can't.
But I've done most things in 14.
Yeah.
I'm a very avid minion collector, which are the little pets that follow you around.
Yes.
I think I'm one of the highest on my world, but definitely not one of the highest among all players.
So as we get into the rest of this year, do you have any big projects coming up that we should know about?
So I just recently started a new job as of the end of last year,
Uh-huh.
which job means money coming in.
Right. Yay.
So I am hoping I can manage to save up enough for a new model. There's a model maker I've been eyeing up for a couple years now.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping opens commissions once I've got enough saved up. But
Hint.
other than that, not exactly.
Yeah. So no big 24-hour streams or anything like that.
No, not really. I can barely stay up 8 hours. 24 hours is asking a lot.
Yeah. Well,
especially with the job and everything.
Yeah.
I don't really have time
Yeah.
to do that. I'd have to take off
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah, that would be pretty rough to do. I see some people do it, and I tune in at like 17 hours, and they realize they shouldn't have done it.
The people who do like the subathons
Mhm.
or the donathons, and they just keep going until like their timer goes down.
Yeah.
I don't know how those people do it. I know they like sleep while the stream is going, but it's a lot.
Yeah. It is.
And I'm turning 30 soon. I have a bunch of chronic illnesses, and it's just hard to even. If I stream, I try to stream for like 4 or 5 hours, and that's pushing it a lot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good chunk there. Given everything you're going through with it, it's still a pretty good chunk. So as you've been streaming, have you found other folks from the furry community that have kind of joined your group?
Join my group in what way?
Well, I joined your chat, I should say.
Oh, my chat? Yeah.
Yeah.
We tend to flock together. So if you see one furry, there's bound to be more of them. And I'm already friends with a lot of furries,
Yeah.
so having them in chat just kind of attracts even more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely like goes to like.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to furries,
It's not a marketing gimmick, folks. It's not one of those things. It's the truth.
Oh, it is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
We flock together. That's why there's conventions specifically for furries.
Oh yeah. Now there have to be VTuber furry conventions.
Oh goodness, I think there'd just be furry meetups at VTuber conventions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Or the other way around.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. It's good to see so many folks are able, a diverse variety of people are able to come in and not have to worry so much about not being accepted um, for
Mhm.
what they do. Have you found that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. I found it to be true both in the furry community and the VTuber community.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, there's a lot of drama in the VTuber community, but there is in the furry community too.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're like curating your space and interacting with the people that you want to interact with, it's a very nice group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in any group, once you get a group of people, there's always going to be somebody who likes to, kick something over and try to set a fire to the barn or something. There's always going to be somebody who's not with the program, and
Hmm.
it's just natural. But if you can, like you said, curate it, that's a really good word to use for it. Curate your followers and make sure that you don't have the bad seeds in with the good ones. You
Hmm.
can enjoy yourself, and you are enjoying yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely. I love this.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
if you didn't have this, what would you do?
Um, I'd just be very lonely when playing video games. Which isn't a bad thing, but I mean I like people. I like being around people and talking to people.
Hmm.
Um so
Yeah. Do
um
your illnesses
mhm.
prevent you from doing that a lot?
My not particularly.
Uh,
I mean it's hard for me to move around a lot. I
mhm.
have to use mobility devices for getting around.
Yeah.
So I don't leave the house a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exactly prevent me. Like if I really wanted to, I could go out more.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of spoons, is
Yeah.
what we call them,
Yeah.
for our energy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
And time, for that matter. Too.
Energy and time.
Yeah.
And sometimes other things just have priority that you have to spend that energy on.
Mm-hmm.
And VTubing does not actually take up that much energy for me because it's something I'm enjoying doing. So,
Does it actually recharge your batteries a little bit?
um, yes and no. Um,
Not physically, but mentally.
mentally, yeah. Physically, I do get a bit tired.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just from sitting up for so long.
Yeah.
I have some back issues, so sitting in a chair for very long can cause some pain. But it does make me happier, which is good for my mental
Yeah.
uh function.
Yeah. When you've got a stream, when you're done with the stream and it's been a good one, and
Mhm.
you've enjoyed yourself, the people in the chat have enjoyed themselves, and you turn that, on whether you rate somebody or not, you turn that microphone off. How do you feel when you're done? Besides tired.
Um, I feel good. I also feel um that very specific feeling like when you've hung out with your friends for a day,
Mm-hmm.
or you've gone out to an event or something for a day,
Yeah.
and you're finally back home. And it's just kind of this like a happy feeling, but also like a sad feeling, like you didn't really want to leave, but you had to.
Yeah.
That's that feeling.
Yeah.
Especially like you really feel it after conventions when you're like out for the whole weekend having fun with friends,
Right.
doing a whole bunch of events and everything, and then you finally get home, and it's like you're sad a little
Mm.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of feeling that when you're older, it's a little tough to do. I mean, when you're really old like me, it's tough to do.
Hmm.
Come up with, but it does allow you here to have that kind of hangout session that
Yeah.
that we used to do. I mean, in early 20s and late teens, just go to somebody's house, just hang out. Somebody's playing a video game, somebody's listening to music,
Hmm.
and other people are um, with various devices that weren't legal at the time. I didn't participate. I was in the room, okay? And then
You were
the stat,
the chaperone.
yeah, then the statute of limitations has long expired. Believe me. Um,
I'm sure some of those things are actually legal in certain places now.
some of them are, yes. Some of them are. Some of them will never be legal. won't talk about those. But the but that kind of it's hangout feeling, camaraderie type of thing,
Yeah.
isn't easy to get these days, and especially if you're adulting and
Hmm.
trying to work and feed the bulldog, that type of thing. It's
Oh
very tough
yeah.
to do. But I just finished an interview with someone who's got a VTuber group for 30 and over. Um,
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
yeah, and I think there's more and more people that are doing it now. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that the phrase "young at heart" is a little misleading. But maybe we do get a chance to recapture a little bit of the youth, youth,
Yeah.
or
And I think yeah. And I think the thing is it's very hard to find gathering spaces
yeah,
that aren't like bars.
yeah,
And a
yes,
lot of people don't like that kind of vibe of a bar.
hmm
But you want to go out and meet people and hang out.
hmm
So you don't want to go to you feel like you're too old for a club because that's like the early 20s. Um
right,
but like maybe you're just tired of bars. You can't do like the smoking or the drinking or whatever.
yeah,
But you still want to go out and meet people. And there's not a lot of those places. And especially since the pandemic, not a lot of places are staying open later either.
oh yeah, absolutely,
So you've got work during the day, but then by the time you're off of work, everything's already starting to close down.
yeah,
So
exactly,
it's not like you can go out and hang out with people for a couple hours.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so
yeah, and
it's
it definitely has lent itself to that. I mean, there's so many
mhm,
things that this medium can do good,
mhm.
and that's going to be one of the main ones going forward, I think. Um,
Oh, definitely.
yeah, I'm glad you found it and it's found you because we get a chance to talk with you and find out some more about you, Kaylen, and I hope that everything continues on the upswing for you. And
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me.
absolutely, you let me know if you got some big things coming up. We'll promote it and hopefully we'll get you back on sometime here in the future.
Oh, sure. I'd
So
love that.
yeah, we'll have all the links, and there are a lot of them for for Kaylen in the description, and you'll be able to find out exactly what Kaylen's got going on. Uh,
I kind of put my paws in everything. I like to reach out to people. I know some people just stick to one or two places, but no, I want to try them all.
yeah,
I want to find what works for me, and I'm usually just kind of a little bit of everywhere.
if you see purple tiger paw prints, you know that
Yep.
Kaylen's been there. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.